Hi there, I'm Haruka. So I think you can probably guess from my favorite anime list and my debut, or the shows I talk about in my video about trash anime, that I really like rom-coms. It's not something I would have expected to love, but when I consider the fact that I watched 27 Dresses by myself multiple times, it makes more sense. But when it comes to anime, rom-coms aren't the chick flicks. They're the true heart and soul of anime itself. Sure, normies like shonen battles with big buff dudes, but I don't think anyone says they're a weeb until they've watched at least one high school romance show. Whether it's Toradora, Kaguya, Real Life, even Haruhi could fit that description. The point is that I love rom-com anime. Wow, that's tiny. But that's not the point of this video. Really, I'm just trying to establish that there's a lot of anime centering around high school. Now, discussing the underlying reason for why there are so many shows set in high school is a different video. When it comes to my favorite characters in these shows, the kids are fine. They're good kids, I hope they succeed in life. But if you ask me who's best girl, my almost immediate answer every time will be the one woman above the age of 19. That's right, I'm here to tell you why Sensei is bae. First of all, let's cut to the quick. They're the only legal character. I am so annoyed by the perception that weebs are all trying to get underage girls. I ain't about that life, and I'm pretty sure most weebs aren't about that life. And if you are about that life, I will politely and respectfully ask you to get the fuck away from our sweet little panda girl, or I will end you. There's also the fact that all the teachers are of drinking age, and there's just an inherent cuteness and comedy to a drunk anime girl. Plus, I don't think Japan knows how to draw a female teacher who isn't drop-dead gorgeous. More on that later. Anyway, in terms of what they actually mean to the show they're in, there's more story to these characters. They've been alive for longer, and there's a reason for them to have a past. It's so annoying when there's constant flashbacks for a 15-year-old kid reminiscing about the good old days of middle school or some big event that happened to them only a couple years ago. But when you get a taste of Sensei's past, her dreams as a young girl to be something more than this, and how she's had to abandon those dreams to survive, that's honestly cool writing. At least to me. And that goes into my final bullet point for reasons why teachers are best girl. They're all just so relatable. I mean, I have clearly stated that my audience is 18 plus. You hear that, YouTube? Please don't call me children's content and then wreck me for swearing. But to those under my target audience age, you may not fully understand the horrors that await you when you graduate high school. And to any older audience of the anime, of which there is probably a large proportion of the audience, I don't know, I didn't do that research. To the older audience, this woman is sort of their stand-in. An adult who is in this world but not of it. And you see real developed human beings, showing that age doesn't necessarily mean wisdom. It's a lesson in what being an adult means. It means you don't get all the answers the moment you turn a certain age. It even shows that these adult characters are going through their own learning process and have their own childish flaws. So, I know just saying this isn't good enough. I need to back up my claims here. And the best thesis defense is a good thesis offense. XKCD taught me that. So I brought some examples along with me. First of all, there's this woman from Mirror Tights. I don't think anyone knows her name unless you really want to find a good statue of her. That's why I know her name is Yuiko Okuzumi. I think we have to admit that teachers are a fetish, and there's a lot of really good sexy drawings of anime girls who are teachers. It's not what I'm into, but it's hard to find a hot woman in business attire anywhere else, so here I am. So I'm just getting the pure sex appeal factor out of the way early. We're not talking about that anymore. Instead, let's move on to the fun teachers. For pure comedy, I would like to quickly point out Izumi Sakurai from Nichijou. The entirety of Nichijou is just adorable, but Sakurai is especially adorable, and how she somehow seems slightly worried about everything around her. She's even got this cute little love story on the side with another teacher, and it's just so cute. It's so cute. Also, just funny for being funny's sake is Teruyo Oshi from Hitori Bochi. Her entire character dynamic when it comes to Nako and the rise of the Wahaha gang is incredible, and her reactions are fun. Now, let's get into those who are relatable and human to the point of actually being an all-around best girl. The first one comes from a show that has its own best girl debate at the forefront, Toradora. Everyone loves Taiga. I think Ami has an amazing character arc, and some weirdos like Minarin, but the actual best girl is Yasu. Okay, actually there's two amazing adult women in this show that I love, but the one I'm going to be talking about is Yuri Koigakubo. Because the forefront of this story is crowded up with big personalities like Taiga's and Ami's, Yuri obviously has to be a side character. But when you focus in on her story, it's a honestly human story. She became a teacher with the hope that she'd be married by the time she's 28 so she can quit and become a housewife, but life doesn't always go your way. A main plotline in the show is actually caused by her own immaturity. She was the one who submitted the idea for a wrestling show, the thing that ends up making Taiga a star at the school. Her constant asides about her own life and dreams work in a great way to contrast what seem to be petty fights from the main characters. And in the end, when she's in a position to help them, she gives good advice. The most adult thing is being able to provide great life advice to others that you yourself never follow. Next is Sawako Yamanaka from K-On!, although we all know her as Sawa-chan Sensei. There's the whole saying about how you put on different masks in front of different people, and Sawa-chan sensei is the absolute master at this. Her social mask to the general population of the school is this kind teacher who really seems to have it all together. To the girls of the light music club, she's just this incredibly unprofessional woman who is constantly exhausted with being the kind teacher. She's cranky, horny, and just a real human being. It makes her relatable and, in turn, extremely cute. Before I go to this next teacher, I need to quickly say that there's a bit of a spoiler warning for a really good Yuri anime called Bloom Into You. I don't really know how big of a spoiler it is. Everyone's opinions of spoilers is different, and usually I don't mind too much because even if I know what's going to happen, I like seeing how it happens. If you don't want to take risks and live life, there's a time code for when I'm done. So this is a teacher who is helpful to the plot in some way while still not being fully the plot. Riko Hakazaki, a teacher whose name I don't even remember if you fully learn, is gay. This is a Yuri anime that involves the students, but the simple fact that their teacher is also gay gives a really cool parallel dynamic play going on. Her relationship with the cafe shop owner is probably one of the most real feeling same-sex relationships I've ever seen in anime. It's not a relationship with a modifier that they're both girls, just a relationship with two people who clearly love each other. Honestly, as a character, I love the shop owner more because she's a bit sassy and she's really the one who dishes out the really good advice to the young ones. But the fact that there's this good visible lesbian relationship does so much for both the audience seeing the goal the two main girls are working towards, and for the girls seeing that it's okay to be gay. Remember kids, it's okay to be gay. My audience isn't kids, they're 18 plus. For those of you who did a skip, the only thing you need to know is that I talked about a teacher who is useful to the plot but isn't fully a part of the plot. That changes with these last two teachers. They are literally the plot. As always, I have to bring up Domestic Nakanojo, and here we get Hina Tachibana. Because she's a main character, you get to have a much more intimate understanding of her. But other than seeing titties, she shows her entire self throughout the course of the story. Once again, I don't have time to explain all the amazing things about Domekano, but Hina is introduced as just this casual young teacher who can hang with the boys but also reminds them about their studies and all that. Just a perfect teacher. And then by the end of the story, we know every intimate detail about how she handles stress, disappointment, and constant emotional pain and suffering. She is well fleshed out. I wouldn't call her best girl, that belongs to Miyabi Serizawa in the manga, but she is certainly a teacher that you can damn well call a best girl. And finally, this brings us to Nande Koko ni Sensei ga? The title translates to Why are you here, teacher? The plot is literally just about trying to date your teacher. That's it. I could have just made this entire video as an excuse to talk about this show, but I think that it needs an entire video to unravel its ecchi goodness. I guess my pick out of all the teachers to talk about is Kana Kojima, who is the main teacher lady. Normally, she's supposed to be this really strict teacher, but after a series of unfortunate events involving a student, you get to see her be incredibly cute and incredibly unclothed. That's all I'm gonna say. Then there's Chizuru Tachibana, but that's a whole different conversation to have about school nurses. Okay, I've given you a bunch of examples, but I understand that you've probably got a few quality rebuttals for me. Haruka, aren't teacher-student relationships wrong? Yes, absolutely, but we're not students, we're the audience. As long as you're not shipping adults with kids, it's fine. And you can also just appreciate a character without being sexually attracted to them. Not everyone is there for you to want to fuck, there are other people in the world too. Although anime seems to be real fast and loose about right and wrong when it comes to relationships, with Armo going all Roll Tide and everything. Haruka, this story ain't about the teacher. Why do you love the teacher so much when she adds so little to the story most of the time? Well, I just explained that anyway, but I will give it to you that the story isn't about the teacher, and it's for a good reason. When it comes to writing a story, there's the idea that what you see of a character's life is the most important moment of their life. Other things may have happened to them, and other things will happen to them, but from the beginning to the end of the story, this is going to be the most interesting thing. There's this weird thing in anime where once you hit 19, your life effectively becomes boring. I'm sorry. They can be relatable in their inner turmoil and anger at the cards they've been dealt in life to end up teaching at high school, but they will probably not go on a journey, at least not one that we'll be able to see. The purpose of the teacher character is really to just be the comedic aside, a Greek chorus for the older people in the audience to laugh along with. So in conclusion, teacher characters in anime have no real purpose, but there is real reason to love them. They're adorable, they're funny, but most of all, they're relatable. As you get older, these women feel less like punchline machines and more like reflections of ourselves within the world. We don't get what we want, they don't get what they want, and that's beautiful. Thank you for watching. Okay. I didn't script myself again this time. Actually, I record these really far in advance from them actually going out. Like, I'm recording this, you'll probably get, the most topical thing right now is GameStop, which, honestly, that sounds like something topical from like 2008 or something, whatever. Up there's a video, that you should watch from me. I need I need more views on my videos, guys. And there's the orb for you to subscribe on. So you should click that orb. The orb is cool. I like the orb. It's a nice orb. It's got my face on it. All right, guys. Yeah.